Holy shit. Okay, I just got a platter of food. Of all three kids here, I got a cookie sheet. Hold on a second. I have all three children here. I just got a cookie sheet like full of food in front of the little one, and it's watching Moana, and I have everybody like prepared in their spots. Welcome to the Friday Graze with Gerrit, our second round with him, and we decided. Me and Gerrit were talking, and we said, you know what? When should we do our next call? Let's do it on the 1 year anniversary of the Viper hack, and that would be that's how we kick off the vibe for our show. Is we like to start off with fire and brimstone and just complete absolute misery. I can't believe it's been a year.
Well, you just grabbed your coffee. Why don't you go ahead and pour it out?
So how is that possible that it's been a year since that thing? It doesn't even seem like it's been like 4 months to me. I don't know why everything goes so fast, even like when we're in a bear market, a curve-centric bear market. Welcome, Gerrit. Thank you for being on. The first thing I wanted to ask you about was how your shows are going. Are you just doing Leviathan?
Yeah, I've been trying to cut back because doing shows takes like so much mental time and energy. Like I think everyone in this space, not everyone, but a lot of people in this space are like attracted to this in part because we're like severely introverted. So half-hour space like this means I need to panic for 5 hours beforehand and then 5 hours afterwards to decompress. So it's like a whole day thing, right?
Yeah, it wrecks the whole day for you. Yeah, make sure you take your meds before.
I'm kidding, of course, but you know, like I get the energy. I get the energy. So I've basically been focusing on doing once per week, like interviews with people tangentially related to the Curve ecosystem. Calling them llama parties. I didn't mean to have any kind of any clash with the llamas there. So if you want to like steal the llama branding back, I could find another name for it. But every Friday through the Leviathan news live stream.
Press is good press.
Just trying to pick out anyone that is like doing interesting things I'd like to talk to, and like trying to get as much time with them just to like go in depth and chat about whatever. So I've gotten to have some really interesting conversations. It's kind of similar format, I guess, to the Graze, where you just kind of like grab a beverage and just sit back and relax and enjoy.
And you're doing that by yourself?
It's open to anyone else who's on the Leviathan team and wants to join. So it used to be like kind of all the core contributors at Leviathan. And then there was 1 week I had a guest who was like kind of controversial. And I said, like, just to kind of keep things like tamped down, let's just have it be just me so that like we're not overwhelming them with too much energy. And I think since then, like they felt uninvited or unwelcome or something. So they haven't come back since. So it's just been me.
Maybe that guest was really pissed him off. I mean, who the fuck was it?
No, it's not. We're not going to dive into all that. But
okay. That's too much drama. Okay, so they're still doing the Leviathan News Network daily stuff themselves.
More or less daily shows. So they've all have shows of kind of a different format. So mine is like interviews with like kind of like going like in greater depth with people. DeFi Advisor hosts a really good one. It's a Thursday kind of like reply guy format panel where like they just get a bunch of super smart people, but they like to identify as reply guys, like just kind of giving hot takes on random topics within crypto. So it's a really fun listen.
Identify as reply guys.
Exactly. If you you have to respect how they identify, right? Like, so even though they're smart, if they identify as dumb, like you got to respect that.
You gotta respect that. Don't you judge them for identifying themselves as dumb, even though they're not. I like the negative connotation of those type of tags that then people embrace, like degens. The original thing, like, it's always like it's a negative thing, then we just like embrace it as our own and we like it. So I'm a reply guy, or I'm a first poster. That was a while ago. I'm dating myself. The first poster like videos were funny.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so you're doing to follow you're still doing the Substack, right?
Still doing the Substack, and then I should say that like the videos I actually like put time and energy into are I do these tutorials via Curve for like different coding technologies. Like I've done Brownie, Viper, Ape, and more recently I've been focusing on like some Titanoboa tutorials. And those I would request that people take some time and watch because they take a lot of time and effort to get right. So it takes like a few weeks usually to get them out. I've got another one I should be filming hopefully later today or tomorrow. Basically, just focusing on how you can use Titanoboa to interact directly with LLamaLand, and in particular, like how to do some of the like liquidations is what we're getting into, because all these different LLamaLand markets, like they are really cool, but as we've seen, if like there's not traders who are sitting there ready to take advantage of arbitrage trading opportunities, then the mechanisms don't work. So like all these markets rely on there being like robust people basically running bots and ready to trade these things.
The market assumes that that it's actively arbed, right? Like I always just thought that was the way it was for every market. I thought across centralized exchanges and big DEX pairs that you automatically have these bots that were constantly bringing prices to par and like meeting. But that's not always the case in the smaller, like out in the fringe stuff, right? Like we're like, oh yeah, somebody's
Exactly.
gonna run a bot to arb that, and then like the pegs disconnected or the spread between the two are disconnected for weeks at a time. We're like, is anybody ever gonna arb this thing? Maybe I should do it.
Exactly. So it's like Mitch actually just kind of trains this. He'll like just leave free money out in public and then tweet about it, and then that will like cue all the arbitrators to be like, "Oh, let me like figure out how to pick up this money." So it works pretty well. But we'd like more people to be able to do it so that like anyone can just launch these markets and get them kind of off the ground quickly.
So obviously, I'm supposed to have our main focus today is Curve, the state of the Curve ecosystem. This is your State of the Union that I didn't even give you time to prepare for. It's been a
I
year since the
know
hack.
you.
The first thing I wanted to, talking about your tutorials, I need a link for that. I want you to drop a link and I can put it in the announcement. And then also I linked that speech that Martin did about soft licks that you had retweeted a couple days ago at the ETH conference that he did. I haven't watched it yet, but I wanted to make sure that I flagged that and pinned it because if I don't pin stuff, I lose it. Thank you. I've got
Yeah,
the
absolutely. It was a really good speech, I thought. So Martin's been killing it on the Curve side of things, and a few days ago I was saying like to some of the people on the Curve team, like, hey, I'm like looking to put together like a technical talk for an event coming up, and I was thinking about doing it on Viper module system, and they said, don't bother, just take Martin's talk and kind of recreate it word for word because we need more people just educating the public on how soft liquidations and hard liquidations work. So definitely check that out.
All right, I'll flag that as well. I think I'll probably make it tweet it on the Llamas account and make it like a real legit deal that I can save. I
Actually,
before I have
if any video wizards out there can help me transcribe it, for some reason I can't download it from the site and transcribe it because I don't
oh
watch a lot of videos. I like to like download and transcribe them, and the ETC website for some reason doesn't make that easy.
yeah, we can get that done for you. Me and Darian, he's on the call right now. We've done 15 transcriptions of consensus talks that we've been
Nice.
posting in a server. So we'll rip it and then transcribe it before it goes away. And that way we'll have a hard copy and I'll just post it to Medium as a transcription and then we can link it.
Oh, excellent. That'd be a huge help.
Okay. So we'll jump on that. Top of my mind, like I just threw a post-it on the wall. There's a vote up already, like the Panda just linked to me about being able to use LP pairs as collateral on LlamaLand. Is that a new thing, or is that not public yet, or is that actually a vote?
This is news to me actually. So
Okay,
this
hold on, let me
take a
read
look.
it. I don't have the direct link to it, but this is like brand new cut. This is like breaking news, right? New proposal for ownership at a gauge to the following LlamaLand market, borrowing Curve USD with USDO/USDO plus LP collateral.
Nice.
So that would be our first. That would be a huge step, right? Like, I mean, I think that was like the first thing that was like exciting to me that I saw this morning. I'm like, is this the first time? Correct me if I'm wrong. Is this the first time that we've been talking about using an LP as a collateral to be able to borrow Curve USD?
So if so, this would be the first LP tokens on the Curve LlamaLand. Now, the Llama Risk team actually did a really cool integration with Morpho, where you can take a bunch of different crypto LP tokens and borrow for like dirt cheap rates on Morpho for like a super like low percentage, and you still get the convex yield. So actually, that's probably even better than the lending curve LP markets, because that's kind of like only attractive if they don't have the curve emissions.
I mean, this is a big step. That I guess that would probably be on Mitch's mental roadmap that we never see, right? Because we can't look into
Perhaps,
his head.
yeah. Well, convex wouldn't be his department. Convex
No,
would
I
not
mean,
be his
I'm
department.
thinking,
Yeah.
I'm pivoting back to the LP vote. I'm still thinking about that, about
Yes,
the
definitely very
gauge for that.
exciting. Yeah, that would definitely be super exciting.
So you
If
would
that
say
doesn't,
that
I see
convex
it. I see
concept
it
that
now.
they
Yeah.
came up with was like a first step, but had nothing to do with him, obviously. But that was a first try at using an LP for curve collateral.
It's basically like this like fairly like unuser friendly integration that Llama Risk team did.
User friendly.
The user experience is like legitimately horrendous, because like you can't really like, you have to juggle between all these different sites and you can't really see what's going on. But initially it got off to a slow start, but it's finally filled up a bit. What's cool actually, like I'm reading through this now, and I just saw it hit the presses.
Breaking
Very
news
clever.
today on the Graze.
And very clever that you do this while we're on the Graze, so I can't just like run to X and post it and get like some basic likes for it.
Holy shit! I beat Gerrit to a post, guys. Can you believe it? Well, they'll read your post with your 22,000 followers way before they do mine.
No,
Or
let's
listen to
retweet
my
it.
show with my 7 listeners.
Let's go ahead and retweet it then. So just go ahead and send me the link, and I'll get you some retweets there.
Thank you.
But no, what's cool about the USD zero USDC pool is like it doesn't have any curve emissions. So it's getting everything, which is like 10 million, 12 million USD volume, or sorry, TVL at the moment. And it's been getting about 5% VAPY just off the trading fees. So you do get that. And this has been more and more a thing where like pools will launch on Curve. They won't even bother getting the gauge emissions hooked up. They'll just offer points, which is what USD zero and usual money is doing. So I don't know. I would assume that those points would also be valid if you take it and stake it in Llama Lend. So actually, like the whole points narrative might be pretty bullish for Curve Lend.
So are you saying that it's a faster way to deploy a reward system than going through the gauge hoops?
A little bit, and it's just been super effective. There's one pool that went up like 2 days ago or something, and it's already got 50 million TVL just from points. Like they didn't even bother to get the points logo on the website first. Like they just kind of announced it in their private server. This is the DUSD one. It's up to 84 million now. So like, a lot, I'm not a big points like chaser. I know a lot of people are. It's never really been my thing. But I do think that like there is something kind of interesting about the whole points narrative and what it's allowed some of these different protocols to do in terms of just like moving extremely fast, like even faster than DeFi, which is already an order of magnitude faster than the traditional financial system.
So there is a place for it, and it could be bullish for Llama Lend and CurveUSD. I mean, it could be helpful. I don't know. I mean, how do you add that on as like a boosted APY, right? Like it's almost leaves it to the imagination of the user, which is what degens love, right? Like they don't like upside caps. They're like, okay, I'm going to farm this pair. I'm going to farm at 17% APY or whatever, APR. And then I also get points on it. And the points might be worth way more than that.
Right. Well, if you think about it, like in TradFi, it's like once you IPO, it's the end of the game, right? You can't have another like massive liquidity injection. Like the similar thing is like within crypto, you can have a like token launch, and then once you've launched the token, you can't do anything more unless you've built into your token where you're going to like support multiple rounds of launches or whatever. But then that gets factored in theoretically in the price, right?
Yeah.
Points is almost like the private rounds ahead of time, which like in TradFi would be like the VC rounds and whatnot, like just all the wheeling and dealing that happens like privately before it actually like hits the public markets. Like similarly, like you can have like all that same wheeling and dealing. You could drag the points game out as long as you like. So at some level, it's kind of protocol friendly because they can kind of like make up however many rules of the game as they want until until like eventually they're like points people like just get like tired and say, look, you got to make these points worth something, or we're
But it
going to
also
revolt.
democratizes the seed round like type of deal. I mean, the back rooming,
Mhm.
right? It brings it into the open and allows everyone to partake. Not if you just know a brother's uncle that's like going to get you in this thing early.
It depends though, right? Because the points are just like whatever you want. Like llamas could issue like points, and you don't have to be transparent about it. You could say like a point for every tweet, but my brother's uncle will give him 1,000,000 points because
It's even more openly corrupt.
yeah, pretty much.
All right, so we just hit you right straight up with the brand new breaking news. Let's go over to the other stuff that's already developed and you already know in your head. So, and things that like I'm not surprising you with. So, where are we on the growth of Llama Land and CurveUSD?
Well, to be clear, I know nothing, right? Like I'm left of CurveCap. So I know these things generally about the time that they go public as well, and then I research them furiously. And I'm slow. It takes me like a day to write it up for my newsletter, whereas these things are already like moving all the time. Where are we at? So at the moment, Curve Llama Land is at about 50 million TVL, and the hope with Curve Llama Land is at some point it can get to about 500 million TVL, at which point it's able to kind of like have a material impact on the CurveUSD markets themselves. The CurveUSD markets themselves, the hope is to get those to like $5 billion. Because once you have $5 billion, you can imagine that that's going to like do amazing things for the revenue of Curve, and you hope to get there in a way where the borrow rate is kind of at the moment, like degens are willing to pay a premium for the soft liquidation mechanism because it is like pretty helpful. That's not going to last forever, right? Like Curve has had it out for a year, and thankfully, like few people have tried to mimic or copy it just yet. But it's going to come. Like Aave v4 is going to come out. Aave is like fantastic. Represents like absolutely the best of DeFi. They're going to build in their own soft liquidation mechanism into Aave v4. Like there are going to be more and more things that launch and start to mimic this experience. So it's not going to like last forever. At some point, it will get more and more commoditized. But
Eventually,
so
everybody will have soft licks.
I think it's going to have to move eventually towards like the friendliest liquidation structure for users, or users just are not going to be willing to touch it. And you see it somewhat reflected in like the interest rates that people are willing to pay. Like people are paying like an absurd 20% on ETH on CurveUSD. Although that's kind of funny because Curve has like 5 different ETH markets now between Llama Lend and CurveUSD and Mainnet and Arbitrum, as well as the like whether you can leverage within it or not. And each of these have rates ranging from I think you can get as low as single digits on Arbitrum. I'm just checking that right now. Yeah, you can get 4% in WETH CurveUSD on Arbitrum with the up to 10x leverage, or you could pay 20% borrow rate in CurveUSD. So it's like there is not like an efficient interest
Right.
rate arbitrage at the moment.
It's definitely
At,
if they can't arb like just token prices, there ain't no way we're arbing interest rate across network unless somebody comes
no,
up with a
no,
tool that does that. So
no, and
after
I struggle to think what that tool might look like, but it would be a pretty cool tool if someone does
it's
that
Notional.
launch.
Have you interviewed Teddy from Notional? Like just turn him
No, I need
loose
to.
on it.
Yeah, that's true. I need to talk to Teddy. Okay,
The
so sorry. What were you saying?
after the edge of being the only soft liquidation mechanism in town wears off, where is Curve's strength, our strength after that?
So it's a good question. Like nothing in DeFi is like ever ultimately long-term defensible. I don't believe. The best you might be able to get is some like network effects from having like a lot of things under like your umbrella. So, for example, like Curve also benefits in terms of like the broader Curve Dex benefits from having so many pools containing CurveUSD within its umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
So there are like certainly some network effects that you can get, So if Curve has like thriving lending markets and a thriving DEX combined, it's probably better off than if any protocol is just one of those pieces. But no, nothing in DeFi like is defensible long term. So you just have to
No,
get the money while you can, and hope you're able to kind of
nothing
jump
is
to the next
sacred
trend
in
next.
DeFi or war. They
Not at
so
all,
you
not at all, right?
you have to
Like
try
Curve
to
did a
use the edge that we have now to blow up the TVL if we can get a bull market that really if we can get a DeFi bull market ever, then we can
right.
say that Curve the fees have already gone batshit. Let's just start with that. Like let's
Fees are great.
honestly talk about
Fees are
they had
amazing.
to for compound every dollar of Compound's revenue went into Robbie's pockets, right? Up until yesterday, when the guy basically hostile takeovers, like 51% attacks the entire freaking token to force them to turn on the fee switch. Meanwhile,
Hmm.
Curve has been paying $740,000 a week to Curve holders, right? Like that's what your number was from last week, from this week.
Yeah, it really is great, and they let's hope that it's able to continue. Like for my sake, like the token price can do what it does. It can go up, it can go down. But like I got my chunk of Curve, and I'm receiving more Curve via like yield farming, and I'm getting dollars from it. So like I'm pretty happy, right? Like I don't really care what the token price does because the revenues have been phenomenal.
We're
And
perma
like that's
locked anyway. What do we care what the token price is? We're never going to be unlocked. We're never selling. We ain't never selling.
pretty much. So like Curve is doing the like the hard work of actually like earning meaningful revenue as a protocol, which is not like an easy thing. I remember like 10 years ago, like that was like a unicorn, was any crypto protocol that could make revenue. And
Yes.
now they like happen all the time, and the market is punishing them for it.
I I was talking to Darian earlier about like in preparation for the call with you, and I said that we were going to talk about some dumpster fires, and then I just had like this mental image that I wanted to pitch as like a tagline for us could be Curve dumpster fire out front, building a mansion in the back. So we have like multiple angles that we're going other two jokes in one for us there. It's like in the market just zooms in on the dumpster fire on the curb, right? Like that's all the camera shows is like this is all bad. They're giving so much revenue, we should punish them for this revenue. Where is this revenue coming from? Dump
Well,
indefinitely as punishment.
it's hilarious. It's not like the biggest problem in the world, right? Like if you look at the like, it's not just Curve that looks like a dumpster fire. It's like all of the entire crypto industry looks like a bit of a dumpster fire. And then you like log on to X, and first of all, you have to like get into these like nooks and crannies to like really get any sense of like what's going on with any protocol. And they all look like dumpster fires because if they get big enough, they get like paid trolls or like just organic trolls that do
Organic
nothing but attack
trolls.
it, right? So it's like the entire space just looks insane. Um, but what's the best like trump card you can have is revenues, right? Like at the end of the day, like it's similar with the stock market. Like at the end of the day, like as wild as share prices can fluctuate, like the ultimate whole card that you can have is like strong and consistent revenues. So let's just hope that Curve continues to focus on that, which it's focused on for 4 years, like getting its piece of DeFi transactions flowing into VECRV holders' pockets, finding new ways to increase that. And as long as it is able to, in fact, continue to grow revenues, it's gonna do great. Because I think that we all believe, having used DeFi and having used TradFi, that at some point, like more of DeFi is going to make its way into TradFi to the point where, like, if you listen to Mitch's call this morning, was on a X space with Hash Key, I think it is, the Hong Kong regulated exchange, and like he like laid out like if you're looking for the alpha, like by the way, that's what it is. Just go listen to the space because Mitch laid it all out in like full blueprint style of where all he sees things heading. Um, and like he's a strong believer that like DeFi is going to like become huge. Like all of TradFi will at some point be integrated in some way, shape, or form with some sort of DeFi backend.
So we absorb them. Is
Uh,
in his vision, or
it's not clear exactly how it plays out, right? Like it will it could be any number of ways that it happens where like DeFi, TradFi might like try and absorb DeFi, TradFi move on to like a DeFi Rails, TradFi might be DeFi under the hood, DeFi might become integrated Trad. Like the specifics of how it happens, unclear. But I think like we're all like DeFi maximalists if we've used DeFi. We know that the future for DeFi is going to be trillions of dollars larger than it is today.
Yes. Yeah, we're at the baby stage. I mean, the fact that we're at a 50 million Curve USD market cap and we're talking about like, revenue growth, it's like it's a tiny drop of what we are going to be eventually. We just have to survive until then.
Right, exactly. And it's sort of like absurd to like it's sort of absurd to like try and time it or focus on like some of these like weird like like micro effects of like, oh, are you gonna be able to increase revenue growth 5% or whatever? Like that doesn't matter, right? If DeFi is a multi-trillion-dollar market, there's gonna be NFTs that are like niche NFT projects that get a tiny chunk of it, which will be worth $50 million years from now.
Right.
So
the long-term bullish view just got to, as long as they keep doing what they're doing, Curve keeps doing what it's doing, and continues to deliver to the holders revenue, then we're on the right track.
Well, I don't think Curve can get complacent, mind you. I think that it's like at the moment it is like not growing especially fast. Like we are seeing stable coins volume starting to flow back in. So there is some growth. Growth is very fragmented, where it used to all flow to Ethereum L1 and now it's like flowing to a lot of different chains. So it's not even the case. It's not like necessarily a rising tide right now. So Curve and none of the DeFi protocols can rest on their laurels because there's 1,000 or tens of thousands of hungry protocols like trying to bite away at market share. So it's like critical that Curve grow and continue to like increase its footprint. It's doing from what I see, it's doing what it needs to do to grow aggressively. The like innovations that are going on within Curve. I certainly believe that Curve is like the most innovative protocol, but it's not like just like innovation for the sake of innovation. It's not like, hey, look, we learned how to like add another butt onto the monkey, or what's the South Park like joke there, like we created monkey with 4 like butt cheeks instead of 2. Like it's not like just wild innovation. It's like innovation,
real useful innovation.
Right, it's like applied towards the specific problems that it has. So like specifically like within Curve USD, there's like a strong focus on like what can be done to make the peg keepers like more resilient, for example. Within Llama Land, it's like how can we like more efficiently deploy markets and get them to grow quickly without like needing to tap in too much to Curve emissions, like things like that.
So speaking of Curve emissions, I know I don't want to keep you for. Tell me if you need to cut off or jump or bounce or whatever.
I'm good.
What about the emissions cliff? So talking about that chart that we've been looking at for 4 years, I don't have it here to paste into chat, but there's a massive emissions change in August of this, which is next month, right?
Yes, it's a big emissions change. It's in a way that you might also say that like we've almost already started peering over the cliff just a little bit, right? Because if I'm not mistaken, like Mitch, when he was making the deal with I'm blanking on the name, the gentleman who so basically like a big piece of the emissions that stopped this August is the core team emissions. And I'm pretty sure that Mitch basically like pledged the rest of his core team emissions through August in order to like do the OTC sale. So like there's already this big change where Mitch used to like spend profligately like a lot of these core team emissions that he got for himself. He's like super generous and would like throw money on the pools on Arbitrum, or he just launched a chain on Base and he would just fund this out of pocket.
He was self-incentivizing LPs.
Mm-hmm. And he no longer can afford to do that, frankly, because they stole a lot of money from him, right? Like the like people talk about the liquidations, but like the real like effect of what happened over the past few months was that basically hackers stole money from him on Uwu Land. He like lost a huge chunk of money. He had to make some deals to sell at prices I'm sure he didn't want to sell at. And now there is no more of this kind of like beneficence coming. So,
So that's an
yeah,
emissions cut in itself. The fact that he doesn't have the massive core team emission schedule that we see on the chart that Hawthorne posted.
right. So yeah,
Um,
that's so we've already basically been living in about a month of an emissions cut. In that, like you probably noticed it, like some pools just don't have like the crazy incentives anymore, and some pools like don't get incentivized that way. It's kind of like no one's noticed because like the pools are now being incentivized with points. Um,
yeah,
yeah, as Alice
they're too
says,
busy focusing on these worthless points.
but yeah, we've basically lived with this core team emissions cut for about a month now, and then on top of it, we're going to see the kind of traditional like rate cut that we see every year. And I don't know what to expect with that, except I'll just say that, like in practice, like we have now lived through a few of these rate cuts, and Curve price has only gone down. So if you're like using that as hopium, that it's going to cause Curve price to go up, it doesn't seem like Curve works that way. At least it hasn't so far. So I wouldn't.
It's the opposite. Cut emissions, price goes down. Print less
Yeah,
money. Oh my
DeFi
god.
Made here tried to warn us on that, right? Like the bullish the bearish effect of emissions reductions. So now, like, there's who knows, right? Like, I don't think that Bitcoin had pretty accurate trading charts for the first 4 years. Did it? Does anyone like know? I feel like it took like 4 years of Bitcoin existing before like accurate trading started to exist. And since Curve has the same inflation schedule as Bitcoin, maybe we will start to see like the kind of Bitcoin tokenomics take effect, where like we start to see Curve actually is considered a scarce asset and starts to grow and
It gets
all
there.
that.
I mean, that's if you on the release schedule. If you take your mouse and slide up from below, right before September, so August of here, which is now, that
Mm-hmm.
corner where we take that right turn and go flat, that is scarcity. That become well, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say it like that. It should We're not burning any Curve, okay? There's going to be less Curve dumped onto the market. There's going to be less loose, fresh, free Curve floating around. It's gonna squeeze the supply somewhat. Now it always comes to market, and most of it's fucking locked forever. Like we never
Mm-hmm.
talk about the who needs a burn mechanism when everything's 4-year permalocked.
It's true. It's true. But then the question is going to become like, so like Bitcoin, Bitcoin was first, and Bitcoin gets the kind of like winner take all effect of being first. It's not necessarily clear to me that other tokens copying Bitcoin tokenomics specifically will have such demand as Bitcoin had. Like Bitcoin is like working its way into like the traditional financial system at scale. So there, yeah, you could see that Bitcoin has Bitcoin ETFs in the U.S. Bitcoin is accepted as legal tender in El Salvador. Maybe other countries are going to adopt it. I would like caution not to make the mistake of assuming that like there will be similar demand for Curve. Now, I think Curve has fought harder to like produce demand for the token. So there's reasons you might want to own Curve. Like you might want to buy Curve and lock it and just get the cash flows
Mm-hmm.
in Curve's expanding businesses. In which case you could value Curve specifically as a cash flow token. Or there's like the governance direction, the ability to like direct liquidity using Curve. Um, so those are like the
There's
two
literal
clearly
use cases for it,
right,
where
and that's
Bitcoin
like
is just a shiny rock.
right, but Bitcoin doesn't have as much to prove because it came first and it already built out its network effect. So like Bitcoin, Ethereum, like number one, number two. BlackRock says they don't see demand for other currencies beyond that, and if that's the case, if that turns out to be true, then the dwindling supply of Curve won't matter all that much. But we'll have to see where trends go. Like,
And price does matter in for the emissions for how powerful the governance control is, right? So like if we get a bounce from 30 to 60 and all of a sudden Curves like, we feel like we're in a bull market again, and the emissions that the gauge votes are able to direct are worth twice as much, then it becomes, I mean, it's kind of a self-feeding prophecy thing, right? Right? Where like if the price of the token rallies a little bit, that's a lot more leverage for the votes.
I mean, yes, I'd say that like the biggest effect of the like bull market is just the kind of speculative frenzy that naturally happens when there is a bull market, right? Like when it's a bear market, the tech is bad. When it's a bull market, the tech is good all of a
It's
sudden.
rapidly
The
improving.
exact. um, and I think that like a lot of the effects of the bull market is like people it's sort of like the bull market itself is a self-fulfilling prophecy. When all of a sudden everybody cares about DeFi, then the ability to like direct liquidity within DeFi looks like the most important thing in the world. When DeFi is collapsing and no one cares about DeFi, like the ability to drive liquidity around DeFi is not like a huge value add. So like for better or worse, like the like narrative is subject to these market cycles.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that I want to give a little bit, get your opinion on this one. I feel that the most important driver back into DeFi is going to be rate cuts in the US, because when rates were zero, everybody had to come to DeFi to get any yield. And I know a whole bunch
Right.
of boomers and 80-year-olds that I work for that wanted to deposit money on chain and make 12% on their dollar coins because there was no money to be had. At this point, they can go get 5.25 on 90-day T-bills, which is what everybody's doing who I know, and
Yep.
they don't care about the 12%, right? Like they're like, I'll just take the government paper for 5.25. But they're
Why
going
would
to
you take
cut
the
rates.
risk?
They're going to cut rates, and when they cut rates, then everything comes back to DeFi, and they're probably going to. I mean, I can foresee a path starting in November where we're in a rate cutting situation again. And so I don't know. Do you think that it's that big of a deal to DeFi? Do you think that it's a doubling, tripling, quadrupling of volume?
I'd say that what you're talking about is like what I think a lot of us kind of feel intuitively is likely, but then markets are like super rational, so they never seem to take the like path that we expect is likely in the end. So I'm like also like I'm sort of like in like a wait and see, like let's see what happens when rate cuts start to like come in, and arguably we've already started to see some money flow into DeFi, like Sexdex trading is at an all-time high. We're seeing like stable coins are approaching all-time high. So we
What
are
are they doing
starting
with
to
them though?
see.
It's crazy. I
Go
know I
again.
saw that too. Like I read that stat that like we're at an all-time high stablecoin balance, right? Like a cross chain balance. But what's everybody doing with them?
They were a lot more fragmented between different chains, I think is the answer, right? Like Tether is like almost as large on Tron as it is on Ethereum, and Curve doesn't yet have a Tron presence, so that none of that is going to wash up onto Curve.
Right.
But that aside, like it does seem like that it seems pretty clear to me that like something's likely to change as the macro conditions change. And then like I know a lot of people are like expecting that like if the US takes like a less hostile approach to cryptocurrency, that like that might also open the floodgates a bit. Don't know if that's the case or not, because we know that like the Bitcoin ETFs I think the Bitcoin ETFs have had an upward effect on Bitcoin and Bitcoin innovation. We're too early to see what the Ethereum ETF effects are going to be. But like all the Ethereum that gets bought, it's not going to find its way into staking or restaking or onto Ethereum. It's just going to kind of like push the price up, perhaps, and that would like maybe affect the narrative.
Well, when the ETF providers have to buy cash ETH, that's it. I mean, it's just going to sit there
Yeah.
dead. We're not going to restake ETH that's inside of ETFs and IRAs.
No, it's just naked ETH that sits there and does nothing.
It's
So it's
another
kind of in a
burn.
way good.
Feel the burn.
It's like, yeah, it's good for stakers, right? Like it's good for those who can stake.
Okay, I should have opened the show. Well, I made a lot of mistakes already, so hopefully you'll give me
Oh,
a
we all
round
do.
three. We all do. It's okay. I'm new. I'm not Gerrit. Everybody, you can all fuck off.
Oh,
The
I just make mistakes all the time. That's the one thing I'm good at.
I wanted to say, hey, congratulations! We survived Mitch's liquidation. We're on the other
That's right.
side of that. Like nobody even says anything. Like I haven't read one. Well, I mean, nobody bull post Curve obviously, other than us. We're like there's 12 of us, right? We're like the last. We're the idiots that are drinking the Kool-Aid and going to the spaceship. Nobody comes out and says We are on the other side of Mitch's liquidation, and we're not dead. The token's not at zero. Where Mitch didn't just disappear and go to a different country, or whatever, like just log off. So there's the positive part of that is you would think that eventually the market would start to price in the fact that overhang is no longer there. Like if we were at 60 when the market was concerned about Mitch's liquidations, then why are we not at 60 when the liquidations are over with?
So it's a fair question. I was trying to approach this as humbly as I possibly can, because at the end of the day, as irrational as the market seems, like if you're a believer in free markets and the power of free markets, then the free market is the best summary of the wisdom of the crowds, right? So like the wisdom of the crowds being what it is, implies that Curve is priced correctly. And if I have a higher expectation of Curve's price than the market, either I am professing that like I know more than the crowds, or I'm wrong. And it's usually that I'm wrong because I'm not very smart. So I am trying to like just kind of like erase everything and like value this at as you might value a bond, right? Like so I just kind of take it like for the sake of assumption. Let's just say, all right, let's assume that Curve revenues we expect are going to be staying relatively static and delivering, I think, what, like 10 cents, 12 cents per year, maybe, in revenues for holding a CRV. What the market, in its infinite wisdom of the crowds, is saying is that it expects that it will get about 2 years of cash flow from Curve before Curve disappears from business. And if I'm buying Curve expecting that the price is higher, I mean, to factor in time value of money, so maybe like 2.1 years, let's say. If the price of Curve is at 25 cents, like that's just implying, yeah, exactly. Like we're gonna get like a couple years of cash flow and then it drops to zero somehow.
And then the world ends.
And the world ends.
The Last of Us.
And is that like is that like a fair like valuation for DeFi? Like it's probably not unfair, right? Like DeFi is a circus, DeFi is a carnival. Like there's all these like existentially threatening events that happen to cryptocurrency protocols all the time. Solana, like it gets shut down all the time. People who are trading on Terra, like that just disappeared overnight. It could get regulated out of existence. Curve could just evaporate. Curve could disappear. So the market is saying 2 years of cash flow and then it's done. And it's on us to prove that the market is wrong and that we're going to get bigger cash flows and we're going to survive for a lot longer. And if so, then we are going to win that gamble. But most people don't want to make that gamble, right? Like, why would you make that gamble when you could just take an equivalent amount of money and put it in the stock market or put it in a savings account, get 5% yield? I look at this and like I think Prisma is actually valued kind of like similarly, right? Like Prisma is also delivering like really good cash flows. If you hold a Prisma token at 5 cents or whatever for 1 year, it'll pay itself back, and then everything after that is pure profit. Would you bet that Prisma is going to last longer than a year? Like it's like it looks dicier than Curve, right?
God damn. Well, this has been a really bullish calls, guys. I hope you're all really loading up on your Curve position. Yeah, this is yeah, okay. All right. Thank you for this. This is eye-opening and it reminds me of where we really are. The fact that the market is valuing 2 years of survival of our industry is not surprising, but you're right, it's on us to prove them wrong.
Right, and well, we can, there's a lot we can do to prove them wrong. We can, if we 2x Curve USD market cap, if we 10x Curve USD market cap, if we, find more ways to deliver, like, increase the TVL of Curve, if we get more efficient at extracting fees from the TVL and the Curve decks that we do have, if we create new revenue streams, like there's a lot that we can do to prove it wrong. And if the market is not going to give us a speculative premium, then it's like the only other tool we have at our disposal that we have like any control over is to build better products out of it.
There's been a lot of products that are in the process of launching. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's happening. There's a lot of exciting partner projects that are launching, plus the incessant building that Mitch is doing in the background. So there's a lot of things that I guess, but nobody ever hears about that, right? All they do is pull up a chart and look at a chart of Curve, and that's it. You never, you don't.
I mean, it would be nice. It'd be quite nice if the market gave us a speculative premium for these things. I think it probably used to. You could argue that 2 years ago, when like Curve had fewer products being launched, less revenues per CRV, but the higher price, that was probably baking in a higher spec. Reason it's not now, it might be Curve specific. It might be reflective of the case of um, speculative premium point will return at some point. Some enthusiasm around will be bull market will like be just as cash flows. For I guess I just lost you there.
Sorry, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, I just got like a funky. I could hear most of what you said. It was a little bit chopped up. Thank you for the positive ending note on that. Like I like how you place the responsibility at the feet of us, of the holders, the users, and especially the llamas. That's more.
The llamas is like a key part that, in my opinion, is like not just kind of like sitting back and enjoying cash flows, but like working hard to actually like try and improve the ecosystem and do stuff. So I think the llama is a very key part of it.
I talked to Panda and Hawthorne a long time ago, or a few months ago, about the badges that Curve should be doing. That I thought, like, after we get the grant one done, after we get the front end done for our permissionless badge system, I was thinking about, like, here's the stuff that Curve should be badging, like, or bountying us for. And Hawthorne and Panda both told me it's not Mitch's responsibility to issue the badges. It's our responsibility to tell Curve what badges they need to issue. Like, we, as llamas, we need to see a hole that needs to be filled and then go and bounty that to happen. Like, we need to have the vision. Like, all of us are Curve, like, business developers, right? Like, we should all be looking for new stuff to help grow our ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like entirely fair to say that like as a community, like we've gotten very far off of the hard work of Mitch. But like we want to be decentralized, right? We don't want this to be just a community where like we're reliant entirely on Mitch, and if a meteorite like flattens Switzerland or Australia, wherever he's happens to be at, like Curve grinds to a halt. Like it really should be the case that like people like step up and kind of build their own integrations and their own like innovations and direct revenue that from those to the ECRV holders. Like that would like actually like grow the entire ecosystem a lot more than just like trying to like send goodwill and positive vibes to Mitch and hoping he like pulls more and more rabbits out of his hat.
Yeah. It's our job to all, like the maybe the 100 of us can get together and and equal one Mitch when it comes to creating new ideas and coming up with and being creative.
Yeah, and certainly none of us are a Mitch, right? Like none of us are at that level. Like maybe there's some people out there that are is love that level and are just keeping real quiet, but I haven't seen any. He's like in a class of his own. But like the combined power of thousands of llamas, like it might start to equal a Mitch or two.
We can only hope. That's
And yeah, like I think Curve also like hit a bit of bad luck in terms of like affiliate projects getting hacked, right? Like Conic was looking like it was onto doing something, and then it got kind of hit back hard. I think it'll come back. Prisma was onto something, it got hit back hard. I hope it comes back. We're seeing some new things starting to launch in the next few weeks that are built off of like the LLAMMA soft liquidation mechanism. So maybe some of those are going to like help grow the Curve ecosystem. I think it will. I think that ultimately, like these protocols that are seeing cause to integrate with Curve is not a bad thing, like some of the trolls suggest. But it seems like it's a real strong selling point of the composability of DeFi.
I see you've given a positive message at the end. I mean, there was a lot of fire in there in the middle, but overall you do give a positive, and we are at past the destruction of Curve with the supposed going to zero concept that was going to happen with Mitch's loan liquidations, and we're on the other side of that. So now we can focus on the future, figure out how DeFi takes over the world, and pray for rate cuts. So I'm just going to go right to Jerome Powell, and that's going to be my thing. How I'm going to help DeFi today. I'm going to go pray to Jerome Powell's little shrine that I have here in my house for some cuts.
I mean, if that's the best use of your time, then
the
by all
best use
means,
of my
go
time
for
is
it.
doing this bullshit show that I do all the time. Okay, this is why they pay me the big bucks. This is why I get my curve emission. I'm not on
No,
that
I mean,
cliff map, by the way. I'm over in one of those other columns that just keeps going up.
I would say that the so like initially like when the llamas like applied for the curve grant and got it, like that was amazing, but it's really a reflection of all that llamas do. Like I think initially like the curve grants team is like pretty bearish on giving out they can be fairly tight-fisted in terms of what they give out, but the llamas absolutely like won the grants council over, and I think converted some skeptics into yes votes. So very well deserved.
Hopefully that we can be a big value add and continue to, add help and ideas, and obviously the completion of the grant and what the end result is supposed to be is going to be an exciting thing to see. And we've gotten some leaks from Dina on that, and seen, I've haven't harassed Hawthorne and Panda for a while about like, when. I haven't really started winning yet because we still have a few months left. So I only win Dina. I just leave the other ones alone. I kept you on for an hour, so I'd like to more than an hour, right? I have no idea what time it is. Yeah, we're at an hour. So anything else that you wanted to wrap up on? I've already got like your promos, your plugs. Can you plug the Substack, and what's the your subscription fee on, so we can actually like you can buy some ramen?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll just first of all like I'll plug a few of the like cool projects that are going on around the Curve ecosystem, like innovations that I think like are maybe undersung and have like contributed pretty meaningfully. So I kind of mentioned at the beginning that there's been some pools that have actually been providing about that like 5% Fed rate that you'd want to hit in terms of just the trading fees alone. And that really is the result of a lot of hard work that has been done to launch these kind of Curve NG pools. Fiddy did a lot of work on that, a lot of help with the team to get those there. And like it's a pretty interesting innovation in terms of DEX technology to have this kind of dynamic fee, such that like when there's the most profit for arbitrageurs, like that can actually like increase the fee and redistribute that back to the pool. And it's gone like a long way towards making the DEX like more sustainable. Plus, like some of the liquidity concentration features of the NG pools, and some other technical architecture has like really contributed to making like the Curve NG like get a like nice second life. And because at the moment like there's like a lot of thinking that dexes are commoditized and it's a race to the bottom, but there's still like a lot of value and pretty impressive innovations going on in that front. And as far as like some of the innovation that's been going on within Curve USD, I'd mentioned that there's some work being done in the peg keepers to kind of reinforce the peg. You want it to be like less volatile wild rates, because Curve USD rates are basically a function of the Curve USD peg. So tightening that peg can go a long way towards making a better experience for borrowers. And the chat the other day in Telegram, Mitch posted a few ideas. There's some work being done pretty extensively on two of them. One of them has gotten a little bit of attention, which is like some slight tweaks to the VECRV tokenomics that would take some VECRV fees and redirect them to pegkeeper pools. So I think that's kind of interesting. I don't think it's quite as earth-shattering or as like
the auto bribe thing.
The auto bribe is the second one. Yeah.
Okay.
The auto bribe is yeah. So the auto bribe is you can actually check out the repo. It's sitting publicly, I believe, on Curve. Let me just check that. So that is pretty actively in development. I don't think it's going to come out this year. I think it'll probably be next year. But this is going to like I've gotten a chance to talk with some of the team that are building it, Alberto in particular. Like he used to work at Paladin. He really knows the space. Super smart guy, and he's coming up with some amazing stuff. So I will. There we go. There's the repo for that. Take a look at that. Really cool stuff going on. I mentioned my Titanoboa tutorials, getting more liquidation.
Yes,
People running their own liquidation bots
you need
will be
viewers
helpful.
on that one. So watch for sure, which I said at the beginning of the chat was watch Gerrit's tutorials. And then give me the link to the Substack. I need that's where the cash comes from.
Yes, yes. So curve.substack.com is the link. I try to blog on a week daily basis on like curve related topics. I am easily distracted, so sometimes I kind of veer off into like random tangents, in which case, like if it's like too far afield, that's usually where it gets hit behind the paywall. But we got a nice community of subscribers, so if you do want to subscribe and kind of like join the community of people who get like the access to the innermost recesses of my id and superego, like there's it's $10 a month. It used to be cheap.
God.
I think nowadays it's expensive, but I'm sure with inflation it'll become cheap again at some point.
like in the next few months. Hyperinflation. All right.
Yeah,
$10.
I had an idea at some point to like peg the price to inflation, but then I decided it was too much work. At some point I like also was thinking of moving it towards like just a pure crypto platform. I probably will at some point. I was kind of playing with like friend tech for a bit, but that seems to have fallen off, right?
Yeah, it fell off a little. Have you been on that piece of shit recently?
I haven't. It's kind of a shame. I was like fairly like interested in that whole narrative of like social tech, and it just made sense. I think friend tech maybe they just dropped the ball. Maybe we're just too social space.
All right, you cut out again. I'm dodging your connection here. Well, let's wrap it up and go on to Gerrit's socials and subscribe. Give him his $10 a month and watch the videos, and we'll work on the metrics for you.
Right on. For Leviathan News, we're building out like a decentralized news gathering bot where we're trying to like crowdsource news from the collective intelligence of the broader Gen community, and that's been going very well. We got some stuff coming with that down the pipeline. Maybe once we're getting closer to release on that, we can chat again. But for the time being, like I think the biggest thing that all of us want to focus on is like let's grow Curve, let's grow like DeFi, and like make DeFi like reach the potential that we all think it's going to be able to hit.
Thank you, Gerrit. Appreciate it. Do your part. I'm doing my part. Okay. I get on and talk to people like twice a week, sometimes only twice a month, but usually. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun. And we'll get you guys back on the llama party sometime soon.
I want to be on the llama party. I want to be on like the kickback version of that one.
We'll do it. We'll make it happen.
Right. Have Dina on so you can actually have like somebody who's interesting.
We should, yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Dina's great. Got to meet Dina once at a event in New York. So every now and then, like it's a plug for like people going to real life,
like IRL. She was wearing a llama hat, so you don't know what she looks like. She was wearing like Dead Mouse's mouse hat, but it was
it was a disguise, so I couldn't actually tell. But yeah, just a plug for going to these real life events every now and then. It can be fun.
Thank you.
All right, take care, all.